Yeah, like someone bet 20,000 on him. Colby, was that you as we welcome in Colby Daniels of 1140, the Blitz in Tulsa? Did you bet 20 grand on Tiger to win this whole thing this weekend?
If this was a one-round golf tournament, I might think about it. But, the fact that his body has to hold up over the course of 4 days makes me question whether or not that would be a smart decision. But he looked terrific, guys, on the driving range yesterday. Looked terrific, I think, playing part of his 9 rounds yesterday. A lot of word on the grounds here that he started to limp a little more noticeably toward the end of that. So the ball striking is on point. It's just a question of physically whether he can hold up over the course of these 4 days to play the type of golf that he's capable of.
Colby, I know Bryson DeChambeau has already stepped out because of the recent surgery on his wrist, and we're talking about Tiger Woods and some other guys. Who do you like this weekend to maybe prevail and come away with the PGA Championship?
Yeah, before I get to that, the Bryson thing, as you just mentioned, is interesting because he was on the range for about an hour yesterday, and I thought a couple things. He looked visibly smaller than normal. Bryson's a pretty jacked guy. Looks like he benches every day, and his face was a little more narrow. He didn't look like he had been in the gym in a while. Not that he's a small guy, but that was kind of a noticeable thing. It didn't impact the driver because he was hammering drives on the practice range, and he even signed autographs for like 30 minutes after his range session. Seemed like he was in really good spirits and seemed to be hitting the ball okay, so that was somewhat of a surprise for me. As far as who I like in this tournament, it's kind of low-hanging fruit, but it's so hard to ignore what Scottie Scheffler has done recently. He wins the Masters. He's won a ton of golf tournaments already this year. He's the world number one. He's the odds-on favorite to win this thing. So it's almost too easy to take him as your winner, but it seems hard to maybe put anybody above him. Cameron Smith is another guy that I expect to have a pretty good showing, maybe a John Rahm or a Dustin Johnson. Both of those guys have looked really good. And, the one that has had a lot of whispers around here is perhaps Jordan Spieth, who was runner-up last week at the Byron Nelson.
Colby, one thing that will strike people or should be easily noticeable is the length of the course when you get there. And holes like 13 tee box that are behind the 12 green, I guess it's the third tee box. It sits kind of on the backside of the 6th fairway, which is the par 3. They have done everything and eked out every square inch of this golf course. Describe for our audience and give an idea of not just the length of this course, because you mentioned Tiger getting around. We know about 9 and 18 and their rise up that hill, but clue in our audience a little bit about the difficulty and the length of this course and the rise and the fall. It's not Augusta, but this will be a physical challenge for these golfers to get around it for 4+ straight days.
Yeah, I mean, the length is incredible. They've really maximized every inch of this golf course. And as you mentioned, there are holes that overlap to the point that yesterday the PGA director was asked if, somebody hits a tee shot from 3 and it collides with somebody's shot on 6, what happens? And they basically said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So not really something that you ever anticipate happening at something like this, but because they've stretched this thing out as much as they have, it definitely comes into play. In terms of just the difficulty of navigating this course, like I like to think that I'm in pretty decent shape. I'm not a professional athlete by any means, but just walking the course without even swinging golf clubs will take it out of you, especially the heat that we had here yesterday, which there's supposed to be a little rain this morning, and then the heat is really going to settle in. So I would imagine, especially a little later in the day, it's going to be pretty brutal for the guys walking this course. But, going back to the Tiger thing, I think that's the big question is, navigating this course and just physically what it takes out of you. Will he be able to hold up over the course of 4 days? But yeah, guys, I mean, the guys that can really, prevent themselves from getting in bad situations are going to have a great opportunity to win this. And I think hearing all these golfers talk over the last couple of days, there's been one common denominator, and that's that this golf course gives you so many options in terms of how you can play it. It's not really easy, but there are different ways to approach every single hole, and I think that's one of the fascinating parts about this is we may see every guy approach every hole differently, whether it's trying to drive the ball or playing it somewhat safe, but it's going to be really fascinating. It's a second-shot golf course, and I think the approach shots in this tournament are going to be really important.
The marquee hole or the signature hole is number 12. I believe it was Arnold Palmer that said it was the greatest par 4 in golf. It's a kind of a sweeping dogleg left. That's where the action's going to be probably noted a lot this weekend, is what happens at number 12.
Yeah, that's a good hole. I really like 17 as well, and I know a lot of people have been posted up there over the last couple days. And yeah, I mean, there's the great thing about this course is there are so many fun holes, and there are so many areas on this golf course where with the hills and the valleys, you can post up and kind of look in all different directions and have a pretty good view. But this course looks spectacular. The rain that they've had early this week has really greened everything up, and it is a sight to see. Anybody that is on the grounds here will absolutely appreciate what this course is presenting.
Colby Daniels with us. He is live at Southern Hills this morning. He works for 1440 The Blitz in Tulsa. Colby, there's a good number of our listeners and Arkansas Razorback fans that will make their way to join you either today or some point this weekend. Outside of the $18 beers, what else do they need to know about this tournament?
Well, John Daly is teeing off in about 30 minutes, which there was a pretty decent amount of Arkansas fans yesterday morning at the range when he showed up. You know, cigarette in his mouth. I don't think he ever touched the cigarette. He put it in his mouth, he lit it, and never touched it again, and hit balls for about 15 or 20 minutes. It was pretty incredible that he could swing the golf club and not ever lose his inch-long ash at the end of that cigarette. It's really one of the most outstanding things I've seen this entire week. And then after he gets done,
you just can't hide talent.
There's like a roped-off area where the players are supposed to walk. And he's like, I'm not going through there. And he tells his caddy to move the gates, and he walks out into the public and gets mauled. And, you know, he knows how to play this. He plays into what his brand is, and it's pretty great. The $18 beers, yeah, I like it. I don't know that I could cough up $18 for a beer, but I guess if you don't have an option, what are you going to do? Just not drink beers out here? So it hasn't really deterred anybody from drinking. I just decided yesterday I would hydrate all day and get my beer drinking in overnight. So I'm just lucky to be here this early, guys, to be honest with you.
In fairness, the $18 beer is a 25-ounce can. So if you price it by the ounce, you don't feel quite as bad about it. If you drink about 3 of them, you won't feel bad at all.
Yeah, Brooks Koepka actually said the same thing. He's like, I don't know what everybody's complaining about. Drink enough of them and you don't care how much you're paying for the beers. So as hot as it's been, I think that's probably true. The first one might hurt a little bit, but after that, you don't care.
Colby.
And I'm sorry, Ty. I would say heat's always been associated with Southern Hills, and that's one reason they haven't played there as frequently. And I know this tournament got moved, and the fact that it's in May, you thought you'd get a little reprieve. And that's not going to be August conditions like we've seen in the past or U.S. Open conditions, but you know, heat's always been a problem when they've had this a major at Southern Hills.
Yeah, yesterday, I mean, there was a point where I had to get off the golf course for a while. I was just wilting away. And there were several players on the driving range that were complaining about the same thing. You know, I think the morning session, at least the early part of the morning session, should be okay. But it's probably going to rain within the next half hour or so, or at least that's what they're saying. And that might get it really steamy here. The weekend, though, I think Saturday the high is 74, so we're going to see a drastic change on the weekend than what we've seen the last couple days and what we expect to see Thursday and Friday.
Colby, I'm just admiring the picture that you took yesterday of John Daly with the cigarette in his mouth, the Razorback golf bag. I mean, this is maybe one of the most beautiful pictures I have ever seen that belongs in the Louvre, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I was going to say the Louvre or the Smithsonian. I don't know, but he is an American treasure. And, yeah, save that picture forever because it's honestly probably the best picture I've ever taken.
Well, Colby, I know you got to run. We really appreciate you hopping on with us. I know you just got through check-in. You're lucky, man. Tommy, my co-host, was there earlier this week. You're there. I guess I'm just going to have to miss out and look at it from your pictures and videos and other Arkansas fans that will be sending us stuff this week.
Next time, Ty, we'll get some of those $18 beers and have a good time.
All right, sounds like a plan, man. Colby, appreciate it as always, man.
Fellas, have a great day.
All right, good stuff from Colby Daniels. The 14-14, the Blitz in
Partners
Tulsa.
at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.